G'day jabronis, it is the Verd, back with you again, and welcome here to our Week 4 NPL Team Builder against Ace of Base and the Anaheim Altarias. If you guys are hyped for this game, make sure you like, comment, all that good shit. I don't know why I said Team Builder, because knowing me, there's more of a chance that since this wasn't a live recorded Team Builder like last week's, I am probably going to upload this one at the same time as the actual battle itself. It's just good to kind of segue between those two, so you kind of get an idea of the team. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but like enough that you understand where I'm coming from with this team. But yeah, Ace is a very good player. I didn't get to play him, unfortunately, in the season of mine as we were both in together. He didn't get promoted, but I was able to, and then he came up the season afterwards, which was quite good, and so we get the chance to play Joe, which is awesome, because you know, Ace is a great guy in the community. I respect him a lot, and you know, he's a fierce competitor, and he's got a very good team this season. I believe right now the Anaheim Altarias are 2-1. And we are 1-2. This is a big game. Even though it's not my division, it's a big game because there's a very big difference between being 2-2 or 1-3. I know this very well from the PPL, where I had to start off 0-2. I got the 1-0 win. Yeah, well, it was a 1-0 win, but I got that win to take me to 1-2. But then I lost and went to 1-3. And that's a huge difference in how your season can play out. But you know what? I'm feeling confident with this game. So what we're going to do now is we are going to break down. Pardon me, this team. I apologize if you can hear my dog barking in the background. She's a bit excited. I got the hiccups too, so I'm really sorry about that. This came out of nowhere. But basically, kicking things off here, we have Hydreigon. This is my designated lead in this matchup against Ace. Riding the Choppleberry basically because this is designed for what I assume is going to be a turn 1 lead Darmanitan. I feel Ace is very likely to lead with Darm in this matchup. It is just so strong. I feel like he has to bring Scarf Darmanitan to this matchup. I've seen a couple people run Banded, which is fine, because I'm designed to outspeed Jolly Darm, so it's not a big deal. But I more expect the Scarf Darm to be, if he's going to bring it, the set of choice. Every mock that I've had, I've seen Darmanitan. I fully expect it to be there, because realistically, my resistor Darmanitan are not the best. Araquanid is technically a resist because of Water Bubble, but doesn't take the hits that well, and Talonflame is not really the best, and neither is Diancie. Obviously, like, Fizz-Diff Diancie might be able to take it. Mega Diancie is more designed to be speedy, fast, and all that good shit, so I don't really want to do that. So Hydreigon is the guy that is stepping up to be the main check. The Chopple is for turn 1 superpower. If potentially he knows that he can live any hit from me and he can just knock me out with superpower, I believe that Ace will consider doing that. Obviously he could U-turn out to Togekiss, but to cover both of these potential options that he could choose, I'm running Head Smash. Now obviously yes, Head Smash does have a chance to miss and there is a risk in that, but the reward is so much better than running Rock Slide. The fact that Head Smash does double the damage of Rock Slide is massive in a lot of calcs. Put simply, if he has to run a Jolly Darmanitan to just potentially be faster than things like Gliscor and other stuff, then that means that Head Smash will OHKO. If he doesn't have any bulk investment, Head Smash will just straight up OHKO, especially if he's Scarfed and goes to Superpower first, then he's definitely dead. And with my Chopple, I can live that Superpower comfortably, to the point where after I Head Smash, I shouldn't die to recoil. But the Head Smash is also good because it catches Ace maybe thinking, oh, maybe he's a Scarfed Hydreigon, let's play it safe and go into Togekiss, and this Head Smash does like 40% to max it. Oh no, sorry, it does 60% to max HP Kiss, and does like, I think, 40% or so minimum to fully defensive Kiss. And so a Head Smash will allow me to kind of gauge what kind of Kiss I'm dealing with at that point of the game, which will be really good. And the reason why I'm running Earthquake as well is mainly for the combination of Empoleon and Alola Muck. In a lot of mocks I found that they were the two primary checks to Mega Diancie, with the fact that they could both run Sugar Berry. So by running EQ on the Hydreigon, I can get rid of Sugar Berries on the Muck and the Empoleon, which opens the door for Diancie to kind of just come in late game and lay the smack down. So that's really important. Roost is obviously there because, as you can kind of tell from what I've explained, the mission of Hydreigon is to take a ton of hits in this game. The Chopple, I guess, also I should mention, does have a few other nifty effects. For instance, it will counter Brick Break / Low Kick Empoleon. I believe it gets Low Kick. It counters that. Brick Break Muck, although I think you just run Ice Punch because I have a Gliscor. Gallade, if I need to take a hit from Gallade in some certain situation and then potentially, you know, taunt it or go for EQ for damage or whatnot, like if it goes for close combat and I can live it and then go for an EQ to get the chip that I need to put in range of other things, then that's awesome if I can do that. So there's a lot of multi-purpose, and the big one too with the Troupple is it'll allow me to take a Titanium Z Focus Blast or Superpower from a Thunderous that has not boosted itself up. I can take those hits and potentially just kill the Thunderous straight up. So a lot of multiple uses there, and the taunt is mainly there because, as you can see from a lot of Ace's kind of bulky mons, a lot of them being taunted can shut them down a lot in the matchup against Hydreigon, you know, Stunfisk, Seismitoad, those kind of mons, where if I can taunt them and shut them down early, then they can't really do too much. So I really like having that, and it's just an overall versatile Pokemon. Creeping Jolly Darmanitan in the case that he might be Jolly Banded or something like that, and I can just outspeed that thing and just knock it straight out with Head Smash. So yeah, I mean, Hydreigon is probably the most utility mon on the team for sure, but as a lead, just like in the game against Greg, although I didn't use it well in the game against Greg, it's more designed that it can take on anything on lead matchup, barring Togekiss, and deal with them from there. But moving on to the main, I guess, switching that I would do most times against Togekiss, it would depend on the situation of the game. Sometimes it'll be Helio instead, but Gliscor is really important this week, so I decided to go with a more bulky-minded set for what it can do. So the speed is creeping Togekiss, obviously. This set is designed to where I feel like Ace is going to bring a lot of ice coverage, mainly because it'll hit Hydreigon and Gliscor at the same time, which is really important for him. And with the Yachi, it lets me handle a lot of his bigger threats. For example, this will allow me to take an Ice Punch from Gallade and just knock it straight out with +2 EQ. Well, I don't know if it knocks it straight out, it does like a huge chunk though, which is really, really good, and obviously then +2 Ice Fang. It's the same with like the Thunderous. It means that Thunderous doesn't get a free setup against me. I could be at +2, he can go for the HP Ice, and even if he specs, it will not knock me out because of my Yachi Berry, and I can straight up revenge. Well, I won't revenge him with Ice Fang, it does like 90 maximum I think, but at the same time it automatically weakens it to the point where, you know, Talonflame or Helio and stuff can pick it off, so mitigates it. I really wanted to run Stone Edge, but I decided against it because of Latias. Stone Edge wasn't doing as much to Latias as I wanted it to, and being able to cover both Latias and Thunderous and things like that with the same move was really important. Like, obviously, again, Kiss would be hit harder by Stone Edge too, but I wanted it to be a holistically covered Pokemon, and, you know, in order to do that, I was going to need to run Ice Fang. Now, I was tempted potentially to drop Roost, but Roost can still be really handy in some situations. Like against Stunfisk, it can't really touch me, and I'm running Poison Heal on the off chance he does bring a Toxic Stunfisk, because if I can predict the turn he wants to go for Toxic, say maybe against the Hydreigon, or maybe even the Necrozma, for example, if I can go hard into my Gliscor on that turn and get Toxic, then that's pretty good. I like that a lot. But overall, its main premise is just to kind of take hits if it needs to, set up in the face of a lot of his defensive mons, and then be able to just rock something with EQ. It's also a semi-Alolan Muck check. I don't like switching it in hard on Alolan Muck, for example, but I think that, you know, if I burn the Yachi Berry, it's a better switch into it, because although Muck can go for the Ice Punch, I can just go straight for the EQ and get off a huge chunk against this thing. But moving on to some more, everything on my team kind of has an offensive mindset. So, like, they can be defensive in some ways, like these first three can be defensive in a way, but they can also be offensive, and I kind of wanted that combination. That's what I've got here with my Necrozma. So this may seem like a weird Necrozma set for this matchup, but it actually has proved to be really, really solid in the mocks. So the basic premise was, I was initially running like a fully defensive standard kind of set, with the issue being that it didn't really break Gallade as well as I was hoping it would, and so I realized I had to be a bit more aggressive about being able to break Gallade. Now obviously when I played Mega Metacham I brought an SD set, however in this scenario SD isn't as consistent, because unlike with the Metacham scenario, Gallade does have ways of hitting Necrozma hard. The main two ways are Knock Off and Throat Chop. Now Throat Chop is definitely a possibility from Gallade in this matchup, not refuting that at all, but I've gone with Ghost Z for two reasons. One, because Ghost Z Shadow Claw with my investment will OHKO Mega Gallade, and two, because it means that if he does choose to run Knockoff, which I think is universally the better move in this matchup, then, pardon me, I'll be able to take like a champion I'm going to straight up drop the Z Shadow Claw. I've learned from my mocks too that the really important thing in the battle to do is if he hasn't set up with Gallade, so if there's not a bulk up or an SD going on, then I'm not going to waste the Z move just yet. I'm going to just go for a normal Shadow Claw to scout to see if he wants to go after maybe like his Empoleon or his Muk or his Toad and that, just to see if he's trying to scout that Z move out. I'm not going to waste it unless I know the Gallade is an immediate threat. So I'm going to try and play it safe there for sure. But the Autotomine is also there because, funnily enough, and this is a really funny thing, so Talonflame's max speed that it can... Talonflame's max speed that it can run is 386. Now, I believe that there's a potential that Ace could run a bulkier potential version of Darmanitan that is only designed to hit 387 with an adamant nature. And if that's the case, then Necrozma, or not just with Talonflame, any Scarf Mon that he wants to bring might creep 387 because that's the fastest speed. Necrozma hits 388, which means that for any Pokemon that is trying to speed creep Talonflame of his like potential Scarf choosers, Necrozma will outspeed them. So that's kind of cool. I don't think he's actually going to do that with Darm. I mean, if it was me, I'd probably make sure my Darm is creeping like whatever my best Scarfer could be. But at the same time, off the off chance he does do that, then that can be kind of cool for me. The bulk is pretty straightforward. It allows me to take a bunch of hits, but also then having the attack investment to be able to bust through that Metachamp. Like I said, that is the not Metachamp, Gallade. That is the main goal of this set. But yeah, we're going to move on to the 3 offensive Pokemon. Now, realistically, the last 2 are the win cons, and this next one is the main, I think, breaker of the team, because Ace doesn't have a lot for banded T-Flame. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Verd, you're bringing Talonflame on a team that has no hazard removal. Like, sure, you have Mega Diancie, but against a Stunfisk and a Toad, do you really ever want to switch it in? And you're right. My counter-argument, I guess, is look at what can happen if the certain checks to Talonflame come in. So let's just throw out some examples. First and foremost, Seismitoad. A fully defensive Seismitoad takes 45% minimum from banded Brave Bird. If he's not lefties, there is a chance I can Twit KO him, and that's freaking ridiculous if he's fully defensive Toad. So that's the first one. I mean, and if he stays in and goes for rocks, I could just click Brave Bird again, and then his Toad is basically useless for the rest of the game. Or, you know, I could potentially go out to my Hydreigon, which, you know, the rocks being up would suck, but at the same time I feel like he can't risk the rocks if he knows that the Brave Bird is doing that much damage. So we'll definitely leave some mind games there. The big one, I guess, is Stunfisk, because Stunfisk is a situation where there is a very good chance he will get rocks up. In that situation, I'm more inclined with my Talonflame when it's in against Mons to click U-turn, potentially, although that may have a chance of being static. The big thing too, though, like I said, is that Gliscor against Stunfisk is really good. Like, yes, he might be able to get rocks up, which hampers Talonflame, but at the same time, he's then allowing my Gliscor to get a free Swords Dance. And he doesn't really have a switch in for this, and then I can just come in and kind of just go ham on something on his team. So I think that although I don't deal with Stunfisk the best potentially with the set, the same thing is though, if Seismitoad's like basically dead, then I don't need to click Brave Bird anymore. Brave Bird's mainly just for that. Like, banded Flare Blitz does the most to everything, and Stunfisk is not taking the banded Flare Blitz as well at all. So I think it just depends on what he brings. I'm not the biggest fan of Stunfisk in this matchup for him. I think it's good in some senses, but it's also really bad in other senses where there's just a lot of mons on my team where Stunfisk realistically just can't touch them, and it's going to be put under a lot of pressure to be able to deal with these mons. So I feel like because of that, Talonflame has such a strong matchup. If he doesn't bring Fisk, then his only real good resists are like Empoleon and Thundurus, and neither one wants to take a ban of Brave Bird. Once I weaken like the Toad if he brings it or anything else, then potentially I could just click Flare Blitz as well. So it's a massive breaker for his team. Only needs to come in like 2 or 3 times, and it'll do exactly what it needs to do. It's weakening things to open the door for other mons on my team to come in and just kind of finish the game off. So that's the main premise of the T-Flame. I kind of have Tailwind on there as well, because I feel like there's going to be some situations where Ace is going to have a mon that he knows can live the hit. Be it maybe he has just a really bulky mon like Empoleon that's there, and I could Flare Blitz to get off a ton of damage. I could do a ton of things, but in the hindsight, it could be that Tailwind proves to be the better move to click. If I know I'm about to die, then potentially Tailwind could be cool, or if for some reason I get knocked off, Tailwind's neat because it can help out my Diancie later in the game. But moving on, we have here a Scarfed Helios. Now this is a very contentious decision. I'm taking a risk with Helio this week. I'm running it Modest, and I'm creeping Adamant Darmanitan. My theory is, looking at the matchup and everything in general, I don't see a reason for Ace to run Jolly Darmanitan. I feel that he can get away with Adamant very easily. He'll have to run a lot of speed, but he can get away with it because, like I said, for him, realistically, the only thing he needs to try and outspeed is Talonflame. In his eyes, potentially, is the Talonflame. So, because of that, I think that he will go Adamant Darm, and that's why the Helio is creeping that, because this will still outspeed everything else, and it means I can get away with Modest. Now, obviously, I could run Timid to creep the Darm, because unfortunately, Modest Helio speed ties with Jolly Darm, if I run, like, maximum speed. So, it's a risk, but I can tell early with Hydreigon if he is Jolly. The plus side of him being Jolly, though, is that a lot of his damage against a lot of my Mons is going to be severely decreased. So because of that, I'm feeling a bit safer about the situation. It's not too detrimental to me. Helio is a massive win con too. Just late game, it runs through his team. If Talonflame does the work of weakening the combination of Seismitoad and Stunfisk, those two Mons are like his only primary checks to Heliolisk. I mean, technically Latias is 50-50 a check, but Gliscor can potentially deal with that. So it's no biggie, and plus Helio pairs perfectly with Diancie, and those two are like a match made in heaven. I initially did have U-turn over Dark Pulse, but found that I wanted to be in a situation where I could hit Mismagius and Latias at the same time. Instead of having to click Thunderbolt against one and Hyper Voice against the other, Dark Pulse covers both in that sense, which is really, really solid. Most of the time I'm just clicking Volt Switch. With Talonflame putting in the early work, like I said, the premise is that it's going to kind of deal with those bulky ground types, but at the same time I can just go for Modest Hyper Voices against them too and get off a ton of damage. And again, Helio's in a position where if Stunfisk comes in against it, it can potentially just go, I can just go straight into my Gliscor, put in a lot of work, put on a lot of pressure, or I could even just go hard Talonflame and just drop a banded Flare Blitz on something. So I think Helio's going to be a massive win con. I'm just really iffy still on if he's going to bring the Adamant Darm or the Jolly Darm. We'll find out when the game happens, but I'm willing to take that risk because of how important the damage output is. Like, Helio with the Modest just does so much. Thunderbolt is pretty much a 2-hit KO on Mega Gallade, which is ridiculous. So really hoping Helio can pull through. It's definitely a risky set, but I'm hoping it does pay off. And the final set, again creeping Adamant Darm, but this is more designed to creep like Adamant Bandit if he's really going to go balls to the wall with it. And that is my Diancie. This is basically designed as a rock polish set. It initially had less speed because when I was rock polishing, I was designed initially just to outspeed Togekiss. Now I'm designed to outspeed Adamant Darm. But overall, when I rock polish, there is no Scarf on his team that can outspeed me. Thunderous, although it has Prankster, can't go for T-Wave because I have Magic Bounce. So the basic premise of this set is I wipe out a lot of his team, and I open the door later in the game, whether it be through like a Taunt Hydra then dying to, you know, like freaking Stunfisk or whatever. Diancie, because of the HP investment I've given it, can live a hit. And that's the big thing, because Ace is very lacking on priority users. If Diancie lives a hit and get off the rock polish, that's basically game. I'm running Hidden Power Grass because it allows me to deal with Seismitoad if need be. Granted, I would love that to be, I would love that move to be Power Gem or Ancient Power, something to deal with Togekiss, but at the same time I have Gliscor and Heliolisk and even Head Smash Hydreigon, so I have so many ways to really deal with Kiss that I feel I don't need to make Diancie do that exact same thing. And so I'd rather Diancie, you know, be in the position where universally can deal with everything. So this also would allow it to potentially counter late game like Shooker Stunfisk, which, you know, could be a thing. Again, like I feel like Hydra or Gliscor was going to deal with that earlier, but hey, you never know. Moonblast plus Earth Power is basically just the two spammable moves. Hidden Power Grass is literally just there for Toad. If for some reason if he brings Toad plus Fisk, then I'd like to have HP Grass there for the Toad to ensure that I can get rid of it. But yeah, like, this is the ultimate win con for my team. The basic premise, I guess, is that late game, set up a rock polish and win. Modest does so much to everything on his team, just runs through the majority of his team. He doesn't really have a lot of counters, and like I said, the things that are counters, Hydreigon, Talonflame, things like that, are designed to deal with them a lot earlier in the game to open the door for Diancie to just come in and be like, yep, that's done now. A really nice synergy as well is if Talonflame can go for the Tailwind into this Diancie, because Diancie will automatically outspeed everything, but at the same time, if Ace tries to make the plays that a lot of people do, getting frantic about doubling out of Mons to try and burn the Tailwind turns, all I gotta do is click Rock Polish on one of those turns, and it's basically GG. So I think that there's gonna be a really strong Mon. Obviously, it's gonna hit like an absolute truck with 460 special attack running off that Modest nature, so definitely going to be a massive win con in this game. I'm feeling pretty good about this matchup. The big threats, I suppose, on his team, Gallade is a big threat if I don't. I mean, I have the Talonflame and the Helio that definitely outspeed it, but I just can't let it kind of run away with the game. Fortunately, like, a lot of my team is kind of designed to where Gallade can't just set up on anything freely, and I can kind of play around what it goes for in a lot of situations. So because of that, I feel pretty confident heading into this, but obviously Ace is a very good battler and he may bring some crazy sets. I know he's like one of the best Empo users I've seen in quite a while, so definitely a little bit wary of what he can do with that. But I'm feeling pretty confident heading into this game. I just got to kind of back myself in my ability because I know I'm good enough to get the result, and I just got to go out there and get it done. But this is the team. I'm pretty excited for it. I'll probably jump to the battle now, I suppose, as I normally do. This is like a long team board talk, but yeah, I'm feeling good for it, and I'll catch you guys in the battle. G'day jabronis, this is Verd here. This is probably being shot right after you've seen the team builder, so hello, hi, it is me. And would you know it, this video is probably going to get up on time, because I'm actually caught back up with study, caught back up with everything else, and I can do this shit. So that's exciting. I got here a battle against Ace of Base. Really interesting matchup for sure. I'm pretty excited for this game if you guys are too, like the video, all that jazz. So the first thing I noticed when I saw this matchup was there was no Seismitoad and there was no Stunfisk, and I was so excited. This is a Modest Helio, so it's his only resist is Latias, so that was pretty hype. I was also really excited about that for the Talonflame. Two of his best switch-ins to Banded T-Flame were not brought for this matchup, which was amazing. Also really liked Necrozma's matchup here. If I just weaken certain things, then it can go on a tear. And the big thing too was that Hydreigon was just a really solid lead overall. If you led Latias, I could make plays around that, and if you went into Gallade, then obviously I have Necrozma. So I was feeling really good about this matchup. Definitely there are some threats though. Didn't know what kind of Dharm it was. The Thunder is always going to be a huge problem in any matchup, so got to deal with that accordingly. So yeah, definitely a lot of threats on the board, but at the same time, I'm feeling overly pretty confident in the matchup itself. But regardless, we are going to jump into this game. So as you guys know, it's a bit laggy on Showdown right now. I do apologize, hoping the actual recording will be alright. He leads Empo, I lead Hydreigon, and I can go for rocks. I can go for a few there. I could have swapped out. Predicting him to an Ice Beam or anything else, I could have just gone straight to Heliolisk, but I wanted to go for EQ on the off chance that he was the Shukaberry, because looking at his team, his only real checks to Diancie are the Alolan, Muck, and the Empo. So if I can get rid of the Shuka on Empo, then I know that Muck maybe is a more aggressive set, and if it doesn't have the Shuka, then I'm to assume it's a more utility kind of Empoleon, which is what it seems to be. The Ice Beam doesn't do that much at all, so I can tell it's a very bulky variant. So I go straight into my Helio, as he makes a really nice double into his Latias. I assume he actually didn't double in this situation because he predicted Heliolisk. I believe he did this double because he didn't want to take another Earthquake. Now, if I had known that he was going to go for that play, I could have gone hard into my Talonflame, but at the same time, looking at the range that Empoleon was at, if it was a max HP Empoleon, then Blitz might not be able to knock it out from that range, so it was just safer going Lisk. But he made a really good read into Latias. Now, I make a really important play on this turn. I could have clicked Dark Pulse, I could have clicked Volt Switch, but at this point of the game, I don't want to reveal that I am a Choice Scarf Heliolisk just yet. I would like that to still be a potential mystery for Ace in this matchup, so I choose to go for a hard swap into my Gliscor, which turns out perfectly because he goes for Toxic. Now, for those of you who know, with the building, I brought a Poison Heal Gliscor with a Yachi Berry. Now, he doesn't know that. As far as he's concerned, all he's done is activate my Toxic Orb. If anything, it's kind of a null and void situation. So, I figure on this turn, he's either going to go for a Dragon move, he's either going to go for maybe a Ice Beam if he has it, or he's going to pull a switch. Regardless of what he does, my safest play is going Talonflame because I have special defensive bulk. I can take an Ice Beam just fine, and I can put pressure on him regardless. But judging on how he's a Toxic variant too, I actually doubt that he's that offensive. So what I can do here is go into my Talonflame, and unfortunately on this turn he does get a crit. Now, this didn't matter in the course of the game, but it did matter in the way that I played my Talonflame. So with more HP, I could have been a lot more aggressive with a lot of my attacks. Could have, you know, fired off a few more Brave Birds and Flare Blitzes to really pressure his team, but at the same time it also turned into a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I realized in this matchup, due to Ace not bringing the Seismitoad or the Stunfisk, he didn't really have an effective way to deal with Volt Turn. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. The crit was annoying, but it didn't matter that much. I go for a U-turn, and from that damage, I get a banded U-turn, but Talonflame doesn't have the best attack investment. I can tell this is most likely maybe like a max HP Latias. I don't think there's any defense investment at all. I think it's max HP. Maybe some Spadef is in there, or it could be like max HP then with enough speed still to speed tie with Diancie. As we see him go for the Toxic. Now, interestingly, we've seen Ice Beam and we've seen Toxic, so I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so his only way, like, for this Latias to hit Mega Diancie seems to be Ice Beam. And that was, like, it baffled me. I just go for a Moonblast on this turn, because realistically what I want to do is, I know that the Empoleon doesn't have a Sugar Berry, so I can go for Moonblast into Earth Power and knock that thing out. But really, what I want to do here is scout the Muck set. I want to see what kind of investment it's rolling with. So I Mega up here, and he actually stays in. I was like, okay, he goes to Protect. And I'm like, okay. Judging on how he has Protect, I have to assume that his last move is Wish. It doesn't make sense for it to be Roost as Roost plus Protect. He wouldn't need to do that. I guess he was protecting just to get some more toxic damage off and whatnot. But if he's Wish, Protect, Toxic, Ice Beam, it's really interesting that he had this. If I'd Mega Evolved earlier with Diancie, then this could have been a real problem for him if Ice Beam was the only way to hit me, because I can eat up Ice Beams. If my Talonflame's getting crit and only taking like 40%, then Diancie's chewing these. So, an interesting decision by Ace to bring that set for sure, but it paid off for him because he got the Toxic on my Diancie before Mega Evolution. So, on this turn I realized, okay, he's probably Wish Protect. Now, he can't touch me, and he knows I can kill him straight back. So, I actually predict that he is going to want to switch out here. So I make a double. As he goes into Empoleon, I make the double into Gliscor. Now, on this turn, I will admit I made a misplay. Realistically, what I wanted to do on this turn was click Sword Stance, and the reason for that was because I felt Empoleon still had a bit of importance in the game, and that Ace would be likely to go back into his Latias. So I wanted to go for the SD, because then from this range, judging on the U-turn damage, a +2 Ice Fang should knock out the Latias. But at the same time, I was sitting there like, yeah, but what if I SD and Ace just keeps this in and goes for an Ice Beam? And then I lose my Yachi Berry, and I'm stuck in that awkward 50-50 of, you know, do I not? And so I was like, you know what? For the sake of it, I'm just going to click EQ. On the off chance he stays in, but he does go into Latias. So I was a little bit annoyed there with myself. I definitely could have made a better play, which was very frustrating in that situation, because I'm in a bit of a tricky spot right now, since the Latias is in, and like I know he's probably going to go for Ice Beam, and I don't really have a lot of great switch-ins on my team for this. So what I'm going to choose to do here is actually go into my Heliolisk, and it turns out to be a really solid play. So I think Ace went into Empoleon, predicting me to go into Talonflame, and the reason why you might be thinking, oh well, why didn't he click Toxic if he assumed the switch? I think the reason for that is because if he knows that I'm a banded Talonflame, Ace has to assume that I'm probably running Facade, just as a move that you chuck on there, and if he gives me a Facade boost, his only normal resist that he brought was Empoleon, which means that if I'm going into Talon, then yeah, like, Facade probably 2 KOs because it's banded Facade. So I can understand this completely. It works out for me. I went to Helio because I knew, judging on the damage onto Talonflame, that my Helio with its really good base special defense would be able to take the hit easily. And from there, what I would probably proceed to do is either double again, predicting the Toxic into my Diancie, because I figured on that turn he would maybe want to go for a Wish. But that was a risk because it could have set me back a few turns. I think what I would have had to do is reveal the Scarf and maybe gone for a Volt Switch or a Dark Pulse or just something. But it works out for me because Ace gets scared out by the thought of Talonflame coming back in and murdering his Latias. So I'm in a really good spot because, like I said, Ace doesn't have good switch-ins for Volt Turn. So you're going to see like a passage here where I'm just going to take complete control of this game. It's not going to happen yet though, because I realize this is my opportunity. I know that in this situation, the Muck could have Ice Punch. I am fully aware of that. But I'm also looking at the match situation. His only counter to a setup Diancie is this Muck. Like, that is it. We know that Empoleon's not going to be able to do it, because if I Calm Mind up, then Earth Power's knocking that thing the fuck out. So this is it. Judging on the Volt Switch damage, I know this is AV. It's a very thick AV Muck. I can threaten it with EQ, so I take my opportunity to go for my SD. Now, granted, it's a little bit later in the game. Not ideal. But judging on the damage from Talonflame, I don't think I can knock this thing out, but that's not the point. Because, like I said, we have ascertained that it is a Wish Protect Latias. Judging on the fact that it has Protect, and like having Roost as the last move just seems really weird, I figure he's gonna go for Ice Beam this turn, assuming, oh, I can just knock out this Gliscor, it's just a Poison Heal, Toxic Orb set, yada yada. So I know that I can catch him there trying to go for the Ice Beam. If that's the case, I can sack off Gliscor on that next turn, and it leaves Latias at like maybe 16% health after Lefty's recovery. Like, this is going to chip it a ton, and then I can leave it at really low health. The combination of Helio plus Talonflame is going to prevent his Latias from being able to heal up at all, and then I can just capitalize on the rest of his team. So it was a no-lose play for me. He's going to go for the Ice Beam. It does like about half, and unfortunately I do get a crit. Now, this crit mattered a lot. It shouldn't have died. I think, judging on the U-turn damage from my Talonflame, that the Ice Fang itself probably would have done like maybe 60 to 70%. Definitely not 74%. I think it would have lived with like a sliver, and then would have been able to get Lefty's recovery back on that turn, and then killed me. Let's go. Like I said, so about 16% health is where I was thinking this Latias was going to be, but obviously then I could have gone into my Heliolisk or my Talonflame. Either way, one of them was knocking out this Latias. I probably would have gone T-Flame, because, like, why the fuck wouldn't I, in that situation, and pick up my kill. Now, this sucks, though, because, well, it sucks for Ace, because obviously his Latias would have survived, and he was saying, like, he could have done things with the late game. I'm not too sure about that. Looking at the Latias spread and the way that it was run, there wasn't a whole lot that they could do, bar coming in against my Hydreigon. That was about it. And that, like, judging on the damage that Empoleon's Ice Beam did, it might have even knocked me out, judging on the damage it was doing to my team. So, because of that, I don't really see how Latias was putting in any more work other than going for a Wish, then dying, then going into another Mon, hoping it lives, and then maybe it dies. So, I don't know. I think that, you know, Ace in that situation, you know, although it sucked that he lost his Latias that way, I think in the course of the game, it wouldn't have been that. It would have just given him an extra sack in some situations, which could have been important. But if you watch, I don't know. But I'm in a pretty good spot because the Latias has died, and in this situation, I expect either Thundurus or Gallade to come in, and the Gallade is the thing that will be coming in. Now, on this turn, I was very much considering just going hard Necrozma, but at the same time, I felt that Necrozma, like, it was a weird 50-50, right? It seemed really obvious that I could just go to Necrozma on this turn, and because of this, I actually decided that I would stay in with Gliscor. The reason being, too, is because I didn't want my Necrozma coming in at this point of the game and getting frozen, because it means that Gallade later in the game is a pain in the ass. I don't want to have to sack Mons, and Gliscor's kind of served its purpose. Granted, it can outspeed the Empoleon and hurt it. It can probably take a hit from Darmanitan if it needs to, and it can be good against the Muck. It's achieved what I needed it to. It's come in, killed a Mon that I wanted it to take out, taken that Yachi hit. It's done its job. And part of me was thinking Ace has to make an aggressive play. Like, if he knows that Necrozma is most likely coming in. I kind of want to see if you go for an SD this turn, so I actually choose to stay in. And unfortunately, he does click Ice Punch, which is whatever. Like, I knew he'd probably do it, but I made my play regardless. I go into T-Flame, and I'm going to go for U-Turn, because I have no reason to risk anything. I knew that Brave Bird would knock him out. Flare Blitz almost knocks him out, but I had no reason to risk it, because like I said, the Latias is dead. I mean, it would have been dead regardless, because it could never really swap into anything on my team, barring, I guess, Diancie, where I could go for a Wish, and Hydreigon, where I could go for a Wish, and that was it. So, those two situations, basically. I guess Necrozma too, but again, like, all you're doing is clicking Toxic against it. Like, sure. I never, like, really brought in Necrozma until later in the game, regardless. But anyway, Helio's going to come in, and now we're going to see that nice ring around the rosy, where he just doesn't have a switch in for the combination of Volt Switch and U-Turn. And, like, these are plays where it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I can just keep on spamming these, because if he keeps on doubling out like this, one thing is Muck's getting weaker now to the point where Diancie can sweep, but also, like here, the Empoleon stays and it lives, and now, this is where I make a ballsy play that works out incredibly well. Now, I was sitting there, and I was saying to myself, he stayed in with Empoleon, the madman. What's he going to do? And my immediate thought was, he's going for rocks. Not thinking, oh, he could be going for Scald, predicting you to Volt Switch and catch the T-Flame. I wasn't even contemplating that. I think I could have lived the Scald, judging on the damage to Hydreigon, but I'm not too sure. Actually, no, I probably wouldn't have, because Empoleon's in Torrent range. I would have got fucked up. But for me, I wanted to go into Diancie because it covered the potential Rocks play. And at this point of the game, looking at how potent Talonflame plus Heliolisk was, I wasn't really seeing Diancie as a win con. Like, granted, it was a very good win con in the game. It was pretty expendable, and even if he had gone for the Scald and killed me, like, anything else on my team could have come in and revenged. But it worked out for me that he actually did go for the rocks. It's a fair enough play since he was literally losing to the combination of Volt Turn, so for him to make that made a ton of sense. It backfired on him though, as I'm able to Magic Bounce them, and I'm able to just click Earth Power and knock out this Empoleon. I don't have to risk anything. He's going to go into his Thundy now, and I was definitely in a bit of a 50-50 choice on this one. Part of me wanted to go hard Hydreigon. I don't know. Part of me really wanted to do it, but part of me also knew that in this situation, again, it's a bit of a tricky one, because I could go Heliolisk, I can make some other plays, and realistically, he has to do something to kill Diancie. Now, Thunderbolt's actually a roll because of the amount of HP investment I was able to do with this Diancie because of the modest nature. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to stay in. If he tries to set up and try and sweep, because the thing is, he also knows that there's a good chance I'm a Scarfed Helio. But the thing is, because I'm modest, I could also be Timid Spec, so he's not too sure what's going on there, but he may be inclined to want to set up, like especially in Agility, because that means that Talonflame can't just revenge him on the next turn. So I figured I'm going to stay in and click Moonblast. If he stays in, awesome, he dies, and if I die, it's cool. And he goes for the Z move and knocks me out, and that's fine. Like, Diancie put in the work in this game. So I was fine with that. I go into Talonflame, he has no switch in for Blitz, so I just knock him the fuck out. Like, in that situation, he could have gone into Darmanitan, and Darm would have taken maybe like 40 to 45, but at the same time, in the long run of the game, I think Ace knew that he needed Darm as healthy as possible. The fact that he's kind of shot himself in the foot setting up these rocks on his side means that he needs to preserve this Darmanitan, and Thundy, although it could pick off maybe a Hydreigon or a Necrozma, couldn't really do much else past that. But this is the other reason why I really wanted to preserve my Hydreigon, because I needed to know, was this an Adamant or a Jolly Darmanitan? Because I am like 99% confident it's Scarfed. So this is why I preserved Hydra, because I know I could live either of the Flare Blitzes. Like, I knew I could live Adamant with a max roll, and I knew I could live Jolly. So, scale my damage. Now, Jolly did a maximum of 44.1%. And Ace's Darmanitan's Flare Blitz did 44.7%. So that immediately, without a shadow of a doubt, tells me he's Adamant. And when I knew this, like, the weight went completely off my shoulders, because I knew that meant my Heliolisk would outspeed it. And to me, that's checkmate, because I can sack Hydreigon here, go into Helio, and click Thunderbolt. Now, granted, the Alolan Muck still is at 60% health, but now it's taking rocks. It was taking almost 20% from Volt Switch, so after rocks and 2 T-Bolts, it's almost dead. But also, I can just switch in hard to my Necrozma if I want to, or just spam the T-Bolt if I really wanted to in that situation, because Muck can't kill me. And because I know that he's Adamant though, Adamant Blitz doesn't even knock out Necrozma, so Necrozma can pick that thing off with EQ. So if Muck's weakened, and Gallade's just going to die to Talonflame. I know that at this point, unless it has Sneak, it's dying to Talonflame. So my play was basically, let Hydreigon die, go into Helio. If he goes into Muck, go into Necrozma. Now the reason for going into Necrozma there is because Muck can't kill Necrozma, and EQ kills something. It either kills the Muck, or it kills the Darmanitan. If he goes Gallade afterwards, I can live any hit, go for my Ghostium Z, which after rocks will knock out the Darmanitan as well, and I secure another kill. And then it's Darmanitan or Gallade against Talonflame plus Heliolisk regardless in that situation, and I win that exchange, because Talonflame beats Gallade, and Heliolisk beats Darmanitan. So that's why here, I sack off my Hydreigon, and I go Helio. So I've got the end of this game planned out. I'm assuming it's going to be a 2-0 win. I drop a T-Bolt, and he actually stays in, which was interesting, because now he goes Gallade, and I'm sitting there like, okay, interesting. I really wanted to click T-Bolt this turn, but I'm like, no. I made a mistake with Gliscor. Not making that mistake again. Get in here, Necrozma. Now, here's where I make, like, one of the only misplays. I think both of my misplays came on turns where, like, well, one turn was where EQ was not the option. Another one here is where EQ was the option, because looking at it in this sense, the big misplay I make here, guys, is choosing to use my Z move. Judging on the close combat damage, like, it's good damage and Ice Punch is going to hurt, but I can take those hits. I can take them just fine, and what I should have done here was just clicked a regular Shadow Claw, because regular Shadow Claw would have done an absolute ton to Gallade, and if he doubles into Muck, the combination of Rocks, Shadow Claw, and Earthquake knock Muck out. So I kind of jumped the gun on this turn stupidly and go for my Z move. I really didn't need to do it, I just wanted to kind of show it off, and it does a good chunk to the Muck, and I can just knock it out on the next turn with EQ. So that was nice and all, but I regret not just clicking standard Shadow Claw and saving the Z move for right now when Gallade's in. There was no need to, because especially since he was at -1 defense as well, regular Shadow Claw was all I needed to click, because with regular Shadow Claw, I automatically put Gallade in range of just anything from either of my last 2 mons. So that was a misplay on my part. I do fully admit and accept that, but the Gallade's in here, and I just decided, you know, I'm just going to spam Shadow Claw, because I'm pretty sure I can take the knockoffs, because I am quite bulky and running the Ghostium Z, and Shadow Claw is doing a clean amount. So judging on the fact that it did 56% to Gallade there, I know that at -1 it wouldn't have knocked out Gallade, but it would have weakened it to the point where I think it almost died to Rock's re-entry. So yeah, I do regret making that bit of a mistake for play, but it's going to work out fine, because knockoff can't kill me, and I'm going to be able to knock out his Gallade with Shadow Claw. So the Necrozma coming in clutch right at the end, picking up 2 really crucial kills. Necrozma is actually my kill leader for the season, so after 4 weeks, the first 2 weeks they were pretty mulligan-esque, they were just very, very bad games, but I've bounced back. So I started this season 0-2, -7. Now, 4 games in, we are 2-2, +2. Like, we've actually gone back to a positive differential, which is just insane, and Necrozma itself has 6 kills and 2 deaths. So 6 kills so far in 4 games for Necrozma. It's average of like 1.5 kills a week. Really, really solid for it. I have been really enjoying using this mod. It was so versatile in this game because defensively it was taking hits from the Gallade, but offensively it was still able to clean through a lot of Ace's team. Now, obviously, there was some contentious hacks in this game that potentially mattered. I honestly still don't think it was that big, because he even said it himself, in most scenarios, all he's going to be doing there is clicking Wish with Latias, and there was no point in the game where I sat there saying, oh gee, I really don't want this Pokemon healing up from a Wish. Like, it would really depend on what was in against the Latias, because the thing is, he would have Toxic Necrozma if Latias was still around, right? But at what point in the game was that going to matter? Like, if you had Latias at the end of the game, like Necrozma came in against the Gallade on that close combat. So say he has Gallade, Gallade, Alolan Muck, Latias, right? Let's go with those three at the end. Gallade comes in, he goes into Latias. I was clicking Never-Ending Nightmare, but I probably just clicked Shadow Claw in general, so Latias can't come in against Necrozma on that turn. I don't know. If anything, I think all Latias would have been was a sack, a means to an end in that situation, and because of that, I think I basically had the game wrapped up regardless, but each to their own, I suppose. I don't know. I was very happy with how I played, and, you know, obviously the crit on Latias sucked, but that's the game we play. You know, the crit on my Talonflame didn't really matter. It just meant that I clicked U-turn more, which is a blessing because, like, U-turn spam with Volt Switch, like, won me the game. So I'm very happy with that, and I'm very happy that we were able to pull off this victory. So, 4 games in, and we have evened up our season. After that really rocky start, we have bounced back in the best way possible with 2 big wins. We are in positive differential, and we're actually sitting in a playoff spot right now in our division. I know it's a bit early to talk about playoff spots, but we're ahead of a lot of other teams. And we're at 2-2. There are 3 teams above us at 3-1, and one of those is my next opponent, Danza and the Los Angeles Nidoking. So if you can beat him next week, then say, like, because I've got +2, he's got +5. So if I beat him 2-0, then I go to +4 at 3-2, and he goes to +3 at 3-2. And wait, did I say if I beat him? Yeah, 2-0. Maths. He goes to +3, which means we move above him anyway. So it's a lot of big upsides here. I am really enjoying how this team has been going. I'm very excited to see where it can go from here. Dance is going to be a very tough matchup. I've looked at the matchup, it looks horrifying, but we're going to find a way to make it work. I am so psyched we were able to get the W here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like the video, subscribe, all that good shit. And I'll be back next week with my game against Danza and the Los Angeles Nidokings. But thank you guys for watching. I'm Laverd, and I'm out this bitch.